Hello, I'm Amy, a 37-year-old woman who's been navigating a whirlwind of changes over the past few months. It's been a period of learning, growth, and adapting to new realities. This chapter of my life began with a string of challenges, mostly centered around my husband, Daniel. However, amidst the chaos, I was fortunate to have someone truly kind step in, like a guardian angel at the perfect moment, offering me support when I needed it most. But before I dive into the heart of it all, let me introduce a key figure in my life, my younger sister, Hannah. She's 5 years younger than me and undeniably beautiful. Growing up, our relationship was complicated. I was the bookish one, while Hannah was the social butterfly, always the center of attention. It led to constant friction between us, partly fueled by jealousy, I think. Despite our mom's efforts to keep the peace, our sibling rivalry was a persistent theme. Things didn't really improve until I went off to college, and as we both matured, we found some common ground. We never became particularly close, but we reached a place of peaceful coexistence, which was enough for me. Then there's Daniel, my ex-husband. We met at work and hit it off right away. After 2 years of dating, we decided to get married. We both worked hard, and together, we were able to buy our first home. Although I was the primary breadwinner and the mortgage was in my name, it still felt like a shared accomplishment. A couple of years into our marriage, Daniel brought up the idea of starting a family. He painted this picture of a warm, happy life with kids. I had my reservations, but he was persistent, and eventually, I came around to the idea. Soon, we were blessed with our son, and 2 years later, our daughter followed. In the beginning, Daniel was an engaged and hands-on father, but over time, his enthusiasm waned. Before I realized it, the full weight of running our household and caring for our children had shifted onto me. The support Daniel once promised seemed to fade, leaving me to manage everything on my own. When Daniel received a major promotion and his salary surpassed mine, I made the difficult decision to leave my job. It wasn't an easy choice, and although I resisted for a while, I eventually gave in, deciding it wasn't worth the battle. To fill the emptiness and keep myself busy, I discovered a love for hosting dinner parties. My guests often included my mom, my sister, who lived nearby, and sometimes my mother-in-law, Alexis, when she came to visit. Slowly, I found contentment in this new phase of life, relishing the extra time with my family and feeling at peace with where things stood between Daniel and me. Our relationship had its challenges, especially after the traumatic birth of our second child, an experience that nearly cost me my life. It took a toll on us, but I didn't fully grasp the depth of our issues until one day, while cleaning, I found a pair of unfamiliar panties. The discovery shattered me, filling me with doubts about my worth as a partner. Even though it had been over a year since the birth, and I had been working through the emotional aftermath in therapy, finding those panties made it painfully clear that my struggles and efforts had gone unnoticed by Daniel. Betrayal and anger quickly replaced my shock, and I became determined to uncover the truth behind his infidelity. My first move was to confront Daniel with a picture of the underwear, demanding answers. After that, I started searching through his laptop and social media accounts, hoping to find something incriminating. At first, I came up empty, which only added to my confusion. Desperate for clarity, I meticulously combed through every message, even though I thought it would be futile. I knew all of his contacts. The idea that someone close to me could betray me felt absurd, until I noticed my sister's name appearing repeatedly. At first, I dismissed it, unable to fathom her involvement in anything inappropriate. However, as I delved deeper into their conversations, my world came crashing down. The messages were filled with intimate photos, loving exchanges, and plans for Daniel to leave me. The realization hit me like a freight train, leaving me reeling from the staggering depth of their betrayal. Discovering my sister's involvement in such a shocking betrayal was a bitter pill to swallow. Despite our tumultuous history, I never imagined she would cross such a line. My initial reaction was visceral. I was so disgusted by the revelation that I felt physically ill. When I tried to reach Daniel but got no response, I turned to Hannah, desperate for some explanation. Our conversation was surreal. Her nonchalant attitude and justifications for her actions with Daniel were beyond my comprehension. She claimed she was doing me a favor by relieving me of his attention so I could focus more on our children. The absurdity of her reasoning only deepened my disbelief. Hannah attempted to downplay the situation, insisting that she succumbed to Daniel's advances because she thought it was best for him. Her complete lack of remorse was the final straw, and I ended the call, overwhelmed by a whirlwind of disbelief and anger. The aftermath left me engulfed in despair. As I cared for my youngest child, the weight of the situation pressed down on me. The daily routines felt hollow as I wrestled with the emotional fallout from the betrayal of 3 people I once trusted. Putting on a brave face for my children was increasingly difficult, especially when they asked about their father's absence and I had no honest answers to provide. As day turned to night and Daniel's absence became more concerning, my anxiety deepened. My attempts to contact both Daniel and Hannah were met with silence, amplifying my feelings of isolation and dread. Exhausted and overwhelmed by everything that had happened, I clung to the hope that sleep might offer a temporary escape from the harsh reality. Yet, when I awoke to a lingering sense of unease, it became clear that this ordeal was far from over. As I looked around the room that morning, the absence of Daniel's belongings hit me like a lead weight. A frantic search through the house confirmed my worst fears. Everything of his was gone, except for the most trivial items. It felt as if he had simply vanished into thin air, choosing to flee rather than confront our issues. In the midst of this shock, my foremost concern was for our children. They were my top priority. After getting them through their morning routines and ensuring they were taken care of, I found myself standing at my mom's doorstep, the weight of my situation pressing down on me. My mother, always perceptive, immediately sensed my distress. Lost in my thoughts, I struggled with the reality of single parenthood and the daunting future that lay ahead. Finally, it was time to break the silence and share the tumultuous events with her. I shared the painful details of discovering the affair, Daniel's sudden departure, and the gut-wrenching realization that my sister, Hannah, was involved. My mother's shock mirrored my own as I recounted how I uncovered the betrayal, an action I would typically never take, but one I felt compelled to pursue given the circumstances. Revealing Hannah's role in this betrayal was both surreal and excruciating. Her indifferent response when I confronted her, claiming she was merely doing what she thought was best for Daniel, was a bitter pill to swallow. My mother's reaction, a mix of disbelief and sorrow, provided little comfort as we grappled with the harsh reality of the situation. As I confided in my mother about Daniel and Hannah's affair, I braced myself for the daunting challenge of raising 3 children on my own. I knew that support from my family would be vital, but the road ahead felt riddled with uncertainty and heartache. My mom urged me to take some time to rest while she processed the shocking news I had just shared. Her presence felt like a lifeline, offering a glimmer of peace amidst the chaos. Overwhelmed and numb from everything that had happened, I managed to drift off to sleep while she cared for my youngest. However, my rest was abruptly interrupted by the sound of crying and my mom's raised voice. I rushed to see what was wrong, only to find her hanging up after what seemed to be a heated phone call, likely having given Hannah a piece of her mind for her actions. In the days that followed, my mom moved in to help, easing the logistical challenges and providing the emotional support I desperately needed. When Hannah tried to reach out, my mom firmly insisted that I block her, reinforcing my feelings of betrayal during a time when I felt utterly alone. The revelation from friends that Daniel and Hannah had quickly married after he left us struck me like a fresh wound, adding a sharp sting to my already itching heart. It was a bitter pill to swallow, leading to awkward and painful conversations with concerned friends who offered their support and, in solidarity, chose to sever ties with Daniel and Hannah. My mom's reaction to their marriage unveiled a side of her that was rarely seen. Known for her gentle nature, her fury at the news highlighted the depth of her love and protective instinct for us. Her offer of financial support and assistance in finding job opportunities was a testament to her unwavering commitment, guiding us through this challenging transition. As the kids asked questions about Daniel, maintaining my composure became a struggle. Yet we persevered together, strengthened by our resilience and love for one another. A week into our new reality, I received a letter from Daniel. I hesitated, suspecting it was an apology that I wasn't ready to face. The weight of everything we had endured hung heavily on my shoulders as I considered the next steps for myself and my children, supported by my mother's steadfast presence. Choosing not to read Daniel's letter felt like my way of finding closure. A week was far too generous for any attempts at reconciliation, especially after he had chosen to leave us in silence, a decision that spoke volumes about his cowardice. In a moment of defiance, I tore up the letter. Yet curiosity lingered. I often found myself wondering what it contained, but I quickly reminded myself that no words from him could ever undo the harm he had caused. The following day, in an effort to bring some joy back into our lives, my mom and I took the kids to the fair. It was a much-needed break from the heaviness that had been lingering over us. Amidst the laughter and excitement, I found myself genuinely smiling for the first time in what felt like forever. That night, as my mom and I relaxed with a bottle of wine, I decided to mention the letter. "I got something in the mail last night," I started, my voice tentative. "Oh, what was it?" my mom asked, her curiosity evident. "A letter from Daniel," I confessed. "And what did it say?" she asked, leaning closer. "I have no idea," I admitted. "You didn't open it," she replied, taken aback. "No, I couldn't face any of his excuses, so I just burned it," I explained, a mix of defiance and regret bubbling inside me. My mom paused, her expression serious. "Amy, what if it was something important, like official divorce papers?" I brushed off her concern. The envelope hadn't seemed official at all. "I'm sure it was nothing like that." "Okay, if you're certain. But what do you think he might have said?" she asked gently. "I don't know. Maybe a half-hearted apology or a request for his things back," I speculated, trying to push away the nagging what-ifs. The conversation shifted away from the letter as we focused on the brighter moments of our evening, yet the unacknowledged presence of what could have been lingered, an unwelcome guest amidst the remnants of our past. Navigating through everything has been a roller coaster, but the moments of joy at the fair offered a glimpse of hope. The hardest part comes when the kids ask about their dad's whereabouts. Finding the right words is always a struggle. Although things are gradually improving, it's a slow process. My mom's steadfast support has been my anchor throughout this tumultuous time. During our conversation, she shared her intentions to disown Hannah, vowing that her support and inheritance would be dedicated solely to me and my children. This decision, stemming from Hannah's unforgivable actions, revealed the depth of her disappointment. While I was initially taken aback, I quickly understood her perspective. The idea of severing ties with one's own child was unfathomable to me, which only deepened my gratitude for my mom's unwavering support. Just as we were starting to settle into our new normal, an unexpected visit threw me off balance. With my mom at work and no one scheduled to stop by, I was taken aback by the sight of two men in black suits standing at my door. When they introduced themselves as lawyers, a mix of curiosity and anxiety washed over me, leaving me to wonder what news they brought. I was utterly speechless when they handed me a check for an astonishing $520,000, convinced there had to be some kind of mistake. However, the lawyers assured me there was no error and urged me to read the accompanying note. As I opened it, the message began with a heartfelt "Thank you for saving me." My confusion deepened as I continued reading, only to realize that this unexpected windfall came from Alexis, my mother-in-law. Alexis's letter unfolded a story of unexpected visits and forwarded attempts to enter Duba-changed locks, ultimately leading to some shocking revelations. She had sensed that something was off with Daniel's behavior, prompting him to confess his actions. In her letter, she expressed disappointment in her son while extending compassion towards me and her grandchildren. She shared her decision to redirect her entire inheritance to us, a gesture of gratitude and an effort to make amends for the wrongs her son had caused. The lawyers then delivered the devastating news. Alexis was terminally ill and had passed away just a day earlier. Her final wishes were clear. She wanted to ensure that I and her grandchildren were well cared for through the inheritance. The weight of her death and her final act of kindness brought tears to my eyes. Alexis had always been a pillar of integrity and support in my life. Despite Daniel's fear of her, I had always found comfort in her presence. Her last gesture highlighted her unwavering commitment to doing what was right, ensuring that her support would continue to resonate even after she was gone. Alexis's legacy extended far beyond her material possessions. It resided in the love and protection she had shown us, marking the conclusion of a significant chapter in our lives. When Daniel called, I had an inkling of where our conversation was headed. Yet I decided to engage out of a sense of morbid curiosity. "What did you do?" he demanded, his tone sharp. His vague wording prompted me to ask for clarification, leading him to express frustration over my absence on a particular day, a day he claimed he had mentioned in a letter instructing me to keep up a facade of normalcy for his mother's visit. "Oh, is that what the letter was about?" I replied, revealing that I had burned it without reading it. Daniel's outrage was immediate and intense. He accused me of sabotaging his potential inheritance, labeling me as selfish. The irony of his accusation wasn't lost on me, considering he had abandoned his family for his own benefit. I countered his claims by emphasizing his abandonment and pointed out that his mother's decision was a reflection of her true understanding of what was best for her grandchildren and me. With that, I ended the call, firmly instructing him never to contact us again. I quickly moved forward with the divorce proceedings and secured full custody of our children. Daniel's attempts to contest Alexis's decision regarding her inheritance were in vain. Her will clearly favored me, regardless of his and Hannah's manipulative efforts to persuade me to give it up. I stood firm in my refusal. The financial security from Alexis's generosity significantly changed our lives. I set aside a substantial amount for my children's future education and made wise investments. This newfound wealth allowed my mom to retire comfortably, and it opened the door for me to pursue a new career path. My children have gradually started to adjust to their father's absence, and I am ready to share the complete story with them when they're old enough to understand. While the ordeal has left its scars, the support from my loved ones and our newfound financial stability have been essential in navigating the aftermath. As we begin to rebuild our lives, I firmly believe that the only way to move is forward, with hope and resilience lighting our path.